Hi. So about 5 years ago, I was working for a software company that people have probably heard of, but I'm not going to name it. And I was doing pretty well. I'd never had any money when I was growing up in my young adult life. And finally, I had a little bit of money, and my career was going well. But I was kind of having doubts about what I was doing with my life. And at the same time, I had this secret passion. And it was so secret that nobody in my life knew about it. I mean, you would have thought like I was, I don't know, like cooking meth or dabbling in white supremacy or something. But really, like, it wasn't. It wasn't that big a deal. My big secret was that I really, really loved airplanes. I loved airplanes. I would go out to SeaTac and Boeing Field, and I watch airplanes take off and land. And I watched all the episodes of Air Crash Investigation. I don't know. Don't do it before you're going on a flight. That's all I can say. And I kind of fangirled on aviation message boards, and I was even kind of a groupie for this one pilot. Yeah. And you know how they say that you should think about what you're passionate about and then maybe try to find a career in that? So I thought, okay, maybe this secret passion, maybe that's telling me that I need to find a career in aviation. So I did some research, and I found out that there's this 2-year aviation mechanic program right here in Seattle at South Seattle College. And I got the brochure, and then I called an advisor, and I went and saw an advisor, and I got all excited. And then I was talking to a friend who's like, you were in your prime earning years, and you need to be saving for retirement, just in that tone of voice. And I was like, well, so I need to be able to figure out how to have this more than full-time job and go to school full-time and juggle it all without it collapsing in a giant heap around me. And I couldn't really figure out a way to do that. So I just convinced myself, yeah, that was a crazy idea, and I went back to my job, and I put my nose back to the grindstone. But the dream wouldn't die. And after a little while, I had this epiphany that was the whole point of earning money so I could just earn more money and save more money, or was the point of saving money so that I could actually have some choices? So I thought, well, I want choices. So I went back to the advisor, and then he told me that I had to wait for a slot. I'm like, I only waited 1.5 years to come back and talk to you. What are you talking about? But anyway, I put my name on the waiting list, and I waited. And he called me late on a Monday, and I got up at 5 a.m. on Tuesday, and I ran in there with my college transcript, which proved that I can do math, because they needed that, and my check for my deposit, and I gave notice at my job. And so I did the program. And honestly, like, I could probably do 10 Moss story slams about the experience of going to airplane mechanic school. But I'll just give you the short version, which is that it's very strange to go to vocational school with a bunch of guys barely out of their teens when you yourself are a woman in midlife. But you know what? I got through it, and I didn't kill anyone. And then I took my FAA written, oral, and practical exams. And then miraculously, I got a job at a major airline right after I finished my exams. And I won't name it. Thanks. I won't name it, but I'll just say it's the airline that's south of SeaTac Airport that doesn't have a picture of an Inuit on the tail of its planes. So that'll give you a clue. And, it's been a hell of a ride. I'm very different from most of my coworkers. First of all, most of them are guys. And secondly, if you wonder where all the Western Washington Trump supporters hang out, I know where they hang out. I see them 4 nights a week. And I think when I started the job, I actually think they were trying to haze me because they would give me an either really difficult or a really gross job and send me off to do it without any help. But what they didn't know is that in the 90s, I worked on fishing boats in Alaska, and I gutted fish, and I sorted fish guts, and I made crab with a K, and I lived on boats. So you know what? You want to send me off and make me open up the toilet waste tank on an airplane, but my shift ends after 10 hours, and I get to go home to my actual house and not go and try to sleep on a bunk in the heaving North Pacific? Yeah, that's not so bad. I can handle that. And so, it's been a good ride. Sometimes it is actually scary, but I try to make the fear into sort of, I'm a law-abiding citizen and I don't really drink much, so this is my thrill, is these scary things. And one of them is leak-checking engines. And nothing will get you on your toes like crawling under a running jet engine while it's giving out 30,000 foot-pounds of thrust. And pro tip, don't walk in front of it, don't walk behind it, walk under from the side and then come back out from the side. And they actually have stripes on the side of the engine that show where you can walk in and not die. And they're surprisingly narrow. But, it all works out. And it's all worth it because I love the airplanes. And while I'm working on them, they seem kind of terrestrial. They're sitting there on their tires and they're tethered to the jet bridge. But then I'll go out, after I'm done with my work, I'll sit by the runway. And at SeaTac, when you work there, you're pretty close to the runway, so it's right there. And I watch the planes take off. And that moment when the tires break contact with the tarmac and the wings take over, I remember that flight is a miracle. And it's physics too, but it's a miracle. And it's all worth it. The Trumpiness of my coworkers and the terrifying, crawling under the engines and the eternal greasiness of our break room and the fact that my hands are always black. It's all worth it because I watch those beautiful airplanes shoot off into the dawn, and I know that I have the best job on earth. Thank you.